Hello everyone, welcome back. We're on video 5 of book reading with Zahra for the book The Gifts of Imperfection. Part 1, Chapter 2, Courage, Compassion, and Connection. The Gifts of Imperfection. Practicing courage, compassion, and connection in our daily lives is how we cultivate worthiness. The key word is practice. Mary Dale, a theologian, writes, "Courage is like it's a habitus, a habit, a virtue. You get it by courageous acts. It is like you learn to swim by swimming. You learn courage by encouraging. The same is true for compassion and connection. We invite compassion into our lives when we act compassionately towards ourselves and others, and we feel connected in our lives when we reach out and connect. Before I define these concepts and talk about how they work, I want to show you how they work together in real life as practices. This is a personal story about the courage to reach out, the compassion that comes from saying, "I've been there," and the connection that can fuel our worthiness. The gun for hire shame storm. Not too long ago, the principal of a large public elementary school and the president of the school's parent-teacher organization, PTO, invited me to speak to a group of parents about the relationship between resilience and boundaries. I was in the process of collecting data about wholehearted parenting and schools at the time. So I was excited about the opportunity. I had no idea what I was getting myself into. The second I walked into the school auditorium, I felt this really strange vibe from the parents in the audience. They almost seemed agitated. I asked the principal about it, and she just shrugged her shoulders and walked away. The PTO president didn't have much to say about it either. I chalked it up to my nerves and tried to let it go. I was sitting in the front row when the principal introduced me. This is always a very awkward experience for me. Someone is running through a list of my accomplishments while I'm secretly trying to stave off vomiting and talking myself out of running. Well, this introduction was beyond anything I had ever experienced. The principal was saying things like, "You might not like what you're going to hear tonight, but we need to listen for the sake of our children. Dr. Brown is here to transform our school and our lives. She's going to set us straight whether we like it or not." She was talking in this loud, aggressive voice that made her seem downright pissed off. I felt like I was being introduced for WWE Wrestling Mania. All we needed were the jack jams and a few strobe lights. In hindsight, I should have walked up to the podium and said, "I'm feeling very uncomfortable. I'm excited to be here, but I'm certainly not here to set anyone straight. I also don't want you to think that I'm trying to transform your school in an hour. What's going on?" But I didn't. I just started talking in my vulnerable, I'm a researcher, but I'm also a struggling parent way. Well, the die had been cast. These parents were not receptive. Instead, I felt row after row of people glaring at me. One man, who was sitting right up front, had his arms folded across his chest and teeth clenched so tightly that the veins in his neck were popping out. Every 3 or 4 minutes, he'd shift in his seat, roll his eyes, and sigh louder than I've ever heard anyone sigh. Uh, It was so loud that I'm barely comfortable calling it a sigh. It was more like a I was so bad that it was so bad that the people next to him were visibly mortified by his behavior. They were still inexplicably unhappy with me. But he was making the entire evening unbearable for all of us. As an experienced teacher and group leader, I know how to handle these situations, and I'm normally comfortable doing so. When someone is being disruptive, you really only have two choices: ignore him or take a break so that you can privately confront him about his inappropriate behavior. I was so knocked off my game but by this weird experience that I did the very worst thing possible. I tried to impress him. I started talking louder and getting really animated. I quoted scary research statistics that will freak out any parent. I served up my authenticity for a big old helping of "you better listen to me or your kids are going to drop out of third grade and take up hitchhiking, drugs, and running with scissors." Nothing, nada. I didn't get a head nod or a slight grin or anything. I just managed to freak out the other 250 already pissy parents. It was a disaster. Trying to co opt or win over someone like that guy is always a mistake because it means trading in your authenticity for approval. You stop believing in your own worthiness and start hustling for it. And oh man, I was hustling there. The second the talk ended, I grabbed my stuff and walked to my car. As I was pulling out of the parking lot, my face was growing hotter. I felt small and my heart was racing. I tried to push back the instant replay of me acting crazy, but I couldn't stop thinking about it. The shame storm was brewing. When the shame winds are whipping all around me, it's almost impossible to hold on to any perspective or to recall anything good about myself. I went right into the bad self talk of, "God, I suck. I'm such an idiot. Why did I do that?" The greatest gift of having done this work, the research and the personal work, is that I can recognize shame when it is happening. First, I know my physical symptoms of shame: the dry mouth, time slowing down, tunnel vision, hot faces, racing heart. And I know that playing the painful slow motion reel over and over in my head is a warning sign. I also know that the very best thing to do when this is happening feels totally counterintuitive. Practice courage and reach out. We have to own our story and share it with someone who has earned the right to hear it. Someone whom we can count on to respond with compassion. We need courage, compassion, and connection. ASAP. Shame hates it when we reach out and tell our story. It hates having words wrapped around it. It can't survive being shared. Shame loves secrecy. The most dangerous thing to do after a shaming experience is hide or bury our story. When we bury our story, the shame metastasizes. I remember saying out loud, I need to talk to someone right now. Be brave, Brené, be brave. Okay, I want to stop here and we'll continue this part of the story on our video 6. Thank you.